give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pakistan has voted in favor of the US-sponsored resolution, The Path to Peace. This is in line with Pakistan's clear and consistent position on the conflict in Ukraine and our repeated calls for immediate cessation of hostilities and a negotiated settlement of this conflict. Mr. President, Pakistan remains deeply concerned by this tragic conflict, which now entering its fourth year has already left in its wake immense human suffering and massive damage to infrastructure, economy, and society. Apart from escalating geopolitical tensions, the economic consequences of this conflict have been particularly severe, especially for the large majority of developing countries who have been advocating peaceful resolution of this conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. However, even as the security, humanitarian, and economic crisis has intensified, the pursuit of peace has so far remained largely absent and elusive. A different approach was perhaps required. We therefore support this resolution's general call for pacific settlement of dispute and for bringing a swift end to this conflict in a manner that ensures lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine. This is a process that may be difficult and complicated, as with any such process, but 3 years since the start of this conflict, it is time for such a process to take hold. In this context, Mr. President, I would like to make the following points. First, peace is a common goal. It is through a collective, inclusive, and comprehensive approach that we can best achieve this goal. Second, the UN Charter and its principles should unequivocally serve as the North Star for all member states, especially in matters of international peace and security. Pakistan's position on this and other conflicts is based on adherence to the principles of self-determination for peoples, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity of states, and non-acquisition of territory by threat or use of force. These principles must be respected and applied universally and consistently without any selectivity or double standards. Third, in today's interconnected world, confrontation and severance of communication cannot and should not be opted as an alternative to cooperation and dialogue. We are encouraged that efforts to bring an end to this conflict have gathered broader support. In this context, we take note of the recent high-level contacts between the leadership of the United States and the Russian Federation. Fourth, the sine qua non of dispute resolution is mutual respect and recognition among the relevant parties, comprehensive understanding of the underlying causes of the dispute, acknowledgement of the legitimate interests of all parties, and last but not the least, political will and sincere commitment from all sides to resolve the conflict. Mr. President, Pakistan would welcome all efforts and any initiative that could help the parties arrive at a pacific and sustainable settlement of this conflict through constructive and inclusive diplomacy in full respect for the UN Charter, international law, and relevant multilateral agreements, and which is at the same time responsive to the legitimate national security interests of all sides. We believe the conflict in Ukraine could have been averted through dialogue and diplomacy. It must be brought to an end now. We earnestly hope that the adoption of this resolution will induce positive dynamics, bring a swift end to this conflict, and lend impetus to an inclusive peace process that yields a durable solution in accordance with international law and UN Charter. Pakistan stands ready to play a constructive role to promote this endeavor in cooperation with all member states, united for this purpose, the path to peace. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan.